What's up, guys? Nick G here. Gonna hopefully keep this video short. Something I want to talk about that I think is important um, is how conspiracies aren't, from what I can tell, and shouldn't be held up as the ultimate truth. And this isn't to say that I don't appreciate the work that people have done in that area, because it's done a lot to wake me up. We should know about things like, phony wars, false flags, banking scams, all of that. We need to know about that stuff, but it shouldn't be held up as ultimate truth, because in many cases on like social media and on YouTube, some of the conspiracy theory channels I've tuned into, that's all they'll focus on, and they leave out like the occult. They'll leave out like the spiritual side of things, and I don't mean that in some like corny, cross your legs and smoke some weed in a field way. Like, I mean that in a very solid, concrete, like cause and effect, core, foundational, matter. Like, it's really, to me, that's where the ultimate truth is at, and that's why these people in the Illuminati, whatever blanket term you want to give secret societies and controllers, that's why they take these rituals and ceremonies so seriously, like such as the cremation of care at Bohemian Grove, the one at the Goddard Tunnel, the CERN one, that was a couple years ago. If you haven't seen that, check it out. It's very weird. A lot of presidents and stuff there. I couldn't even tell you what every message that's being conveyed in that. But like the symbology and all that stuff, that's really, in the ancient wisdom, that's really, like, they're basically ancient psychologists, and they understand how reality is constructed, and they use that knowledge as a tactical advantage to build people and the world in the way that they want it to be, without you knowing that you're going along with it. But the point is, conspiracies, to me, they serve this function. I kind of describe it as like political nihilism. Like, nihilism is like the absence of values. So conspiracies are meant to dispel beliefs, preconceived ideas, or values in systems, or destroy beliefs in systems, or destroy values that are no longer serving you or might even be working against you. Like, a classic example would be, okay, you got a Republican, you got a Democrat. Turns out, when it comes down to the real core issues, they always act the same. There is no difference. They're working for the same team ultimately. So what does that tell someone? That tells someone, okay, I'm now a nihilist, so to speak, about presidential elections. They don't matter. And that's all well and good. That's important, because we need to get rid of this idea that anytime we want to change the world, or how we even change the world, is through politics. Like, we just need to get the right guy in office and we're going to save the world. Like, we really need to get that notion out of our head. That's not... If you look at really any major historical change, don't get me wrong, I would love to have a president on our side. I hope for that. Why would I want anything different? Don't bank on it. Don't count on it. We most likely won't see that day again. But I'm saying most historical change hasn't been top down. It's going to be bottom up. It's going to be people finally taking control over their own destiny and their own lives, and stop giving their consent and forcing the system to adjust. And that is totally within our power. But the point is, so the conspiracy theories dispel belief in systems that aren't serving us anymore, or that need to be revised or refreshed or rejuvenated or fixed. And that's useful. I'm grateful. There's people that have died to get that information out to us. Gary Webb, someone I respect very much, he exposed like CIA drug trafficking, and that dude had got 2 shots to the back of his head, and they ruled it as a suicide. That's, he was murdered, and like, I've seen the destruction caused by drugs, and I'm not even saying that makes, again, I'm going off on a tangent. I'm not saying the CIA made that young man or young woman do the drugs. I know they didn't put the needle in your vein. They didn't make you do that, but of course they're still a mafia. They're still running drugs. They're still playing a role in it. We would arrest anybody else that was doing that, but it's it's state-sanctioned drug running. It's state-sanctioned murder. So it's virtuous now. It's okay now. But and that guy got murdered for putting out that kind of message. I think he did. Whether or not, maybe he shot himself in the back of the head twice. I don't know. But I respect him for doing that a lot. Immense courage for doing that, and many others. But the point is, that can't be held up as ultimate truth, because what I see happening now on conspiracy pages and stuff, and that's sort of why I'm not doing that on my channel, which I might do a little bit of it in the future, just ones that I find interesting or important, especially conspiracies revolving around like occult ceremonies. I find that stuff interesting. I hold it as a higher priority, so I might do some, especially in that area. But it can't be held up as the highest truth, because what I see happening is, it's just like, it's never like, okay, what can I do about it now? It's just like one travesty after another. Here's how we're getting screwed today. Here's how we're getting screwed today. Here's how we're getting screwed today. Here's how we're being lied to now. And like, that's good, but you need to give people their power back. You need to make them aware that they are responsible and they can do something about it, and that needs to not be paid lip service, and then the conspiracies are given the higher pedestal of truth. If anything, the other thing needs to be the highest priority. The fact that we're complicit in it. We have power, and we can take control of our own destinies again. And how reality's built, things like that, the occult, psychology, things like that, stuff to empower people. Because I think when you just bombard them with conspiracies, you leave them with nothing but like, the world is full of lies, there's nothing I can do about it, I'm just a cog in the machine, or fear, instilling fear in them. And I know this isn't to disrespect anyone that does that kind of work, because again, I respect it immensely. It takes a lot of courage, and people think you're like a nutcase for even, questioning anything. So again, I don't want people to stop doing that. I love that you do it, but we really need to understand what's really at the core of all this, and it's not, the level of analysis that should be taking place isn't on necessarily the physical, like, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. I've done a video on that. That's one of the most true phrases I've ever come to understand in my life. A way you could think about it is like a drug addict, someone that's addicted to drugs, it's not necessarily like for we wrestle not against flesh and blood. A flesh and blood level of analysis of that would be, oh, heroin's the problem. Which, like, to some degree, yeah, there's like a chemical dependency and the drug is the problem, but like, not to be like too, emotional about it, but like, the things that are driving them to that behavior isn't heroin itself. It's much deeper problems. It's a spiritual problem. It's a worldview problem. It's a perception of self problem. It's a value problem. It's a knowledge problem. It's a lot of it's like when we take an event like 9/11, we can't just, oh, look at how bold in your face the lie is. We need, we need to give people the power. And again, I appreciate that, man. Like, I appreciate the people that have done that work, but we need to understand what's at the core, and it's hijacking people's perception and attention and awareness and downloading values and beliefs into people through television, celebrity, collectivism, subconscious attacks, like subconscious programming, desensitizing people. These are all where I think the real problems are at, and I don't think you leave people with any real capacity to do something about it. And they're like, what does this have to do with me? By just bombarding them with conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory. And again, of course, like, all of them probably aren't even true. So that, there's like ones that are floating around. I'm not one of those people that rolls my eyes at the notion and thinks all those people are crazy. But without a doubt, there's got to be one, right? That's not true. That's just floating around. That's just not true. So, we need to figure out what our priorities are. And I don't think just exposing evil or exposing, I don't know. I'm glad that people expose the lie, because that's a crucial step. You got to dispel the belief in the political system. You got to realize change doesn't come through a president. And more likely than not, the president's not even going to be on your side. He's going to be helping the guys move the world or your country further into tyranny. So they have to be aware of that. But that's not what you leave them with. You leave them with, you can do something about it. You can teach people. You can become a leader. You can get involved. You don't. Otherwise, again, they're just left with this nihilist, helpless, powerless perception of self. And that doesn't do anyone any good. It makes things worse. So that is why I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. I hope no one takes this as disrespect. And I hope you at least think about why I hold those other things as a higher priority than the conspiracy theories themselves. So thank you for listening. That's the only point I wanted to make.